The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Let's listen as Lorraine Lapointe, coach, therapist, educator, speaker, and founder of Head Hearts Energy, brings together another enlightened guest to inspire and motivate us to move forward, achieve our dreams and desires, so that we experience midlife awakening.
And I'm your host, Lorraine Lapointe. Today we'll enjoy another candid conversation that reveals how to bring back a sense of balance and how to find forward focus. Today, take just a few moments to join us as we explore the possibilities and the perspectives that provide us with greater inner peace, power, passion, and purpose. Because that's what I call living at the edge of fulfillment in a midlife awakening. Well, hello and welcome to our audience around the world. You know, this episode of Edge of Fulfillment is actually called Pushed Beyond Belief. And so far this morning, that has been my experience of being pushed just a little beyond belief. But it's wonderful that you're here. And it's wonderful to know that we're being followed and enjoyed in so many places around the world. And, there are times when, we become aware that things are so uncertain, unsettling, and, things at the moment seem to be taking unbelievable twists and turns. I don't know if you found that, but the foundations and the beliefs at our core these days are being challenged. Can feel a little bit like quicksand rather than the solid foundation that we're used to. And what we understand about fairness and equity and tolerance is also being pushed beyond belief. Today, with all that's going on, you might find yourself standing on the edge, and whatever that edge is in your life, and you may be wondering, how did I get here? Or maybe you've even been pushed to the edge through no fault of your own. If that's true for you, go ahead and put the word edge in the chat, if you know what I mean. It's when we're on edge, there's a fear. And often that fear causes us to contract, to hunker down, and to circle the wagons, as a friend of mine used to say. Fear and intolerance often undermine our closest relationships. And these days, often friends and family also struggle because there's a sense of being polarized and worried about the conflicting thoughts and reports. And I'm hearing myself of other family breakdowns and some spousal discord and damaging relationships that make us feel less than safe, and worse, there's a little more. We're getting that incomplete picture. It seems like it's really hard to get information, and information seems to disappear, or it feels like it gets censored, or dissenting or different thoughts or views are not encouraged. I've noticed lately that clearly the data that we're receiving is being skewed. The scientific evidence seems to be twisted to meet the script or agenda of whoever's presenting it. And when we add this stress that many are threatened with job loss, shifting rules and mandates and orders are forcing lots of change and a refocus of what we know in life. It's not, you're not alone. And I'm hoping that you understand that, all of us may be feeling pushed beyond belief. But I wonder, are you done with being pushed around? Are you finished with feeling small? Maybe you're over spending days and nights in overwhelm. And if so, I should introduce myself. I'm Lorraine Lapointe, and I work with those who are ready to release the stress and strengthen their inner self. Together, we dial down the negative influences. Yes, Rachel, exactly. We dial down those negative influences and focus on what's going right in the world and in our lives. What I found is that self-trust is the root of harmony and balance. And building that inner self-command can reestablish a sense of calm so you can feel more in control. Similar to what I did this morning when, technical difficulties, the show is starting and there's technical difficulty. And I immediately went to my mindset wellness tools so that I could feel more in control, become calm, centered, and focused. So it's great to have you here. And if you are standing on the edge, you want to live in ways that eliminate, self-sacrifice, self-doubt, self-sabotage. And if you're done with that toxic, judgmental inner voice that torments you with feelings of guilt or shame, then you're going to love today's guest, Dr. Nicole Fortin, who also understands the importance of this. And she's worked on her vision of integrating medicines and healing from many different places around the world for many years. And in today's show, we encourage you to think about how you may be pushed beyond belief and how you can re-energize yourself by being fully present. Maybe look at cleaning up some of that past clutter, so that you can feel worthy and that you matter. And anytime anything speaks to your heart today, we invite you to comment or like or share your thoughts or questions, because in the Edge of Fulfillment show, you create an opportunity to make life better for someone else in the world. Your comments, your likes, and your shares, even in the replay, help my company, Head Heart Synergy, provide access to a day's worth of clean water wherever it's needed. And that's through b1g1.com. This means that when you make a comment or you ask a question or you listen to the podcast, you help someone else in the world to live better. And I want to thank you for helping me to help others. And as always on Edge of Fulfillment, we have another contest this week. And today's guest is sponsoring an opportunity for you to win 30 minutes of emotional wisdom training. To be entered into the contest, all you do is listen through the broadcast for 5 inspirational words, and then we'll ask you to put those 5 words in the chat at the end or in an email, so that, and you've already heard the first word. So keep track of this one. The first word to write down or jot down somewhere is the word vision. And at this point, we're going to take a short break and go ahead, send an invitation to friends and family to join us here on the Edge of Fulfillment. And they can join us at the Head Heart Synergy Facebook fan page, or they can join us on the Women for Women Network Radio, that's w4wn.com, or on Talk for TV. And we'll look forward to seeing you in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Mental fitness, the missing X factor for enhancing performance, achievement, and success. Mental fitness empowers you with the magic of 3: stabilized mood, peace of mind, deeper relationships. Time to make it happen? Grow the self-command muscle. Intercept your self-defenses. Build your inner wisdom. In less than 15 minutes a day, gain the missing X factor. Let me show you how.
There comes a time we wonder, what's next? For women like us, as we stand at the edge of fulfillment, are you feeling unsettled, restless, not quite right? That's midlife awakening. Are you looking for fulfillment? Or to squeeze more juice out of life? Midlife awakening at the edge of fulfillment, don't miss it. We understand. By phone or laptop, wherever you are, come join us. Friday 10 a.m. Eastern Time, on Head Heart Synergy Facebook business page, or here, on the Women for Women Network Radio and Talk 4 TV.
Hey, welcome back. Let's recap. Our contest this week, our guest is providing 30-minute emotional wisdom training session. And you've already heard the first of the 5 words that you need to put into the comments at the end of the show. Remember, the first word was the word vision. So now listen to the other 4 words as we continue here on the Edge of Fulfillment on W4WN, and that's the Women for Women Network Radio or Talk for TV. And I want to welcome our guest because she's a doctor of acupuncture and a traditional Chinese medicine with emotional wisdom training. Dr. Nicole's is interested, and I can't talk this morning, interested in a variety of medicine and healing traditions from around the globe. She combines her passion for culture, for language and travel with what she studied and teaches, and her experience in health centers in Canada and China, Nepal, India, and Indonesia provide her with a multifaceted perspective regarding health and wellness. I'm so eager to hear from her today, and I trust that she'll share her perspective with us, as she is a go-to expert for people who are ready to uplift and revitalize their lives. So I'm going to stop talking and welcome onto the stage. Welcome, Dr. Nicole.
Hello, Lorraine.
Good
Nice
morning.
to see you
How are
today.
you?
I'm very good, thanks. Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear, like, you've traveled all over the world and you've seen so many methods of healing. And I wonder, like, what first fired up your bug to travel and your love to travel? Where would you like to start your story?
Oh, well, that starts probably at the time of conception, my family history. I'm Canadian, right? But have a long history of military army family. So hello, Rachel. Thanks for tuning in with us today.
It's good to see Rachel.
Yeah, always, right. So we were actually living in Germany at the time. So I was born there. I think we're just exposed to lots of travel and different places of the world. And there was always that desire, when family members would travel, they'd come back with these gifts or something. And I think it was the most amazing things because, when we talk about being pushed beyond belief, like I just had my limited belief of my local community, right? But being exposed to other, places and images and cultures really drove me to travel and want to explore more.
That is awesome. And I love the fact that you've combined your travel with something that has given you a lifelong calling. So let's talk a little bit about that. So you don't just travel and enjoy the places that you've gone to. You've actually gone to places for specific reasons. So tell us more.
I love to be there in the environment for longer than just a day or two, to really understand or absorb some of that culture or what that wisdom is. I'm really into healing, and I was always drawn to the body, helping with recovery and injury. I started out with massage therapy just to get into it. Sports medicine, I loved all that, this amazing body and its ability to heal. It's fascinating. And then there's this whole, other side, other perspective, other belief system, if we'll call it, of Eastern medicine. And that drew me definitely to be able to experience that, because it's one thing to read about it, but to really experience the roots of it, I think supported the journey of a more holistic health perspective, because again, pushed beyond beliefs. The first time I stepped into Asia, it wasn't anything that anyone could have prepared me for. It's not that, like, you hear things, maybe you get some idea, you have some preconceived idea of what it's going to be like, and then it just blows you out of the water. You're like, oh, this is nothing what I thought it was, and everything maybe I thought it was. And so, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I was shocked to learn when I went to China was that they don't pay their doctors when they're sick. They pay their
Right.
doctors when they're well. So their doctors have a really different perspective on health.
Yeah,
Did you
I'm
find
not
that?
sure if that's yeah, absolutely. Historically, and part of traditional Chinese medicine, the knowledge is based on observation and that the clinical trials. Really, it's like you get the evidence and the data from just time and time, centuries, thousands of years of treating this way with these principles. So our textbooks are classics. They're passed down case studies or observations that we're reading. So traditionally, yes, if you were a doctor and had no sick patients and you were able to help your client be in a cohesive, balanced, harmonious state with nature and the seasons and whatever cycle that externally is also going on internally, then you were amazing. That's the whole idea, right? So then you would get paid. So if your clients are, or your patients are sick, you're kind of missing it a little bit. So it's very opposite of how we run our system here. It's almost the sicker you are, the more attention, you get, and the more expensive the treatments and
we're
prevention.
In the Western world, we're almost in this vortex, this downward spiral, because, quite often the solution to one ailment is to give medication. Like people, you want the red pill or the blue pill. And then when they take one of the medications, the medications have side effects. So then you take something else to counteract the side effect. And then that causes another problem. And then, it's not unusual for people, apparently. I'm personally, I don't relate to this, but there are people that are on 20 and 30 medications.
Have a huge list,
I'm always shocked when I go into somewhere and they say, well, what medications are you on? And I say none. And then they ask me the question again because they don't believe that I'm not on. And I'm not anti-meds. If I need them, I'll take them. But
right.
I would much rather seek natural ways of healing and consult my body for what it really wants and needs. Like why do I have these aches and pains? Why do I have this illness?
Yeah, and that's, I love traditional medicines or ancient medicines because they do touch on that mind-body connection, right? That there is more messaging going on than what's really on the surface, right? And then we typically will treat, like, the conventional way is to look at each thing separately. But a more holistic approach, you look at how all of those things are working together because we are a complete system. The body has many systems and we need to function optimally, to have everything working. It's not so separate. So anyway, that is what drives me and my passion to study more of this. And especially now when we get pushed more and more with, the pharmaceuticals, or just disconnected, pay attention to the screen time and less time outside in nature, less time observing nature, checking the weather app versus just being outside and feeling, you can perceive what maybe that the weather will be that day. But so anyway, it's just like little examples.
Yeah, believe it or not, people used to actually walk outside and look at the sky to tell if it was raining or not. What a quaint idea.
Right.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you have a show yourself called The Language of Healing. And so healing is so much ingrained in what you do. And thanks, Roxy, for putting that up. And so tell me a little bit more about, you're a doctor of acupuncture. And so I have a very narrow understanding of what acupuncture is all about. So perhaps you can broaden my awareness a little.
Go beyond the beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
go
I think
beyond the
it is what I encounter a lot is, oh, acupuncture, that's weird. That's, is that like,
You're
which
talking to a
doctor?
You're talking to a hypnotherapist. Nothing is weird.
Yeah. Likewise, we're in good company, and I'm sure your audience is also like-minded, so it's not so weird. Where do I even begin? I mean, the acupuncture is
it energetic more? I understand it's meridians of the body, and right. I don't know if you use the needles for the acupuncture, but I've always wondered, is it energetic releases, or how does it help? How does it work?
There's many ways that it helps and works, but yeah, it is energetic, and there is more and more evidence being gathered that we have these physical channels inside of us. I heard a lecturer, he's an ER doctor in Los Angeles. I can't remember his name right now, but he wrote a book called The Spark in the Machine. And he talks about how they'll do throat surgeries by feeding through a channel in the arm that goes up into the throat. And they don't know what this channel is, but that's the lung channel. It's like directly, it's the meridian.
They need to ask an acupuncturist what that channel is. Yeah.
Like, where's the more inquiry and the research funding for more about that, So, but it's, blending the science together. What else I know that they've done, just to give you a visual of what acupuncture does. They put someone in an MRI and just watching their brain activation while they stimulated a very common point that sits just in between your thumb and your index finger in that meaty part. And it actually had an effect of, lowering activity. So it helps almost center you and, gives you more awareness. It's just good for the nervous system, less stress, treats pain. I could go on. It just regulates the body. So the basic principle is that everything flows. It's in chi, right? It's like what we say is chi is like material and immaterial. So it's everything. It's everything. And so it's looking at what stage is this chi? Where is this chi? How is it moving? And if it's stuck, then we have a problem. That's the only way, basically, that we have illness or disease, is when there's no flow.
Right.
And, the word, because I love languages too, the translations from Chinese, traditional, like Chinese to modern Chinese to English and French and the varying languages, it does lose a bit of that translation. So it's, I like the visual components of it.
I've heard you mention the word cauldron.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because one of the things I'm going to mention about you saying about words and the translations, I mean, we teach spelling. I was a teacher and a principal, as you probably know. And I didn't realize at the time that we teach spelling, which the reason we teach spelling is because when we say words and we write words, we are spelling. We are bringing into existence that which we write and say. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, what does cauldron? Tell us about cauldron.
Okay. So even with that extra piece, that angle is really cool. So yeah, like I said, Chinese medicine is very broad, abstract concepts, but they make sense. You just have to take the time to really learn it and see how it works. But so I like to work in analogies or metaphors and visuals. So we have three main centers, we'll say. So let's just look at our torso. We have the lower belly button, the middle, which is between the belly button and the sternum or the chest, and then the upper part is the chest, the lungs, the heart. So when we talk about flow and circulation and functionality of the whole system together, it's really integral that these three parts are aligned and working. And we see the Trinity everywhere as well. So there we go. Now we're just looking at it from the torso Chinese medicine perspective. So the lower burner is, let's see a fire, open flames, wood burning fire. And that's our engine, our fuel, the source of heat, source of everything, source of life. In the middle burner is where we have our cauldron. So we're cooking from that heat of the fire into the cauldron. So whatever we're putting in to the cauldron is transforming and breaking itself down into finer, refined bits of chi that our body's going to utilize. And then in the upper portion, our lungs, is the steam rising. The steam, and the steam is what transports all of those nutrients and, chi and blood that we need. So that's it. Whatever we're breathing in or eating, goes into the cauldron, and it's our ability to have, and that lower center is so important. It's like essential for life. It's a very important part of life, right? It's like our will and our connection to our tribe and ourselves and those around us. And so that's like the foundational piece, right? So we look at poor digestion, say, for example, because that would be the cauldron isn't churning as much as it needs to, right? Things are stuck and stagnant, but it could be a problem with the fire initially, not the cauldron itself.
So it appears to be a problem in the cauldron, the digestion of the food or whatever it is, but but that's not the actual root of the problem.
I mean, there's so many variables, really. No two bodies on any day is the same. I think that it's always shifting. So you just have to learn how to read the body a little bit. But yes, that's a great example of what symptom you have now. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's just it. That's like a very localized, separate perspective, but looking at the greater picture is
and you and I love the fact that we seem to be doing similar work, although I don't do physical healing. I do emotional, mental healing. And so what you've said just resonates so strongly for me, because everything is connected. Quite often our physical body, I find, is it stores emotion. It's trying to communicate with pain or with aches or with things that aren't, going well. It's dis-ease, right? And when we look for what the dis-ease is, it can be physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. It can be in this life, or it can be in a past life. I often talk to some of my clients are highly anxious and worried about things, and they have no idea why. And sometimes it's not their worry, but it's worry from past generations and past lives that have come down through DNA, through experiences and behavior. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, going back to the three components, it's like mind, body, spirit, earth, man, heaven, conscious, subconscious, unconscious. That's where I really love working with the emotional wisdom training as well, because it brings more of that mind, the opportunity to explore a bit more of like what is behind that, or what beliefs are running, that programming. Yeah. So it's just so interesting. I think we have so much potential, and I'm really curious about how to fully reach that potential, and that's kind of being on the edge of fulfillment. What is holding you back of truly fulfilling and being at your peak performance, right? And I find for myself and for Benny's, it's like we're our worst enemies. We hold ourselves back, and it's wonderful and it's liberating and it's so supportive and integral to health to grow and evolve when we can identify some of those patterns. And that's the work that you're providing and I'm providing. And also we talked about my show. That's what inspires me to do the show as well, the language of healing, because there's so many different perspectives, and I love to showcase that. It's almost like my canvas of ideas right now that get
like the edge of fulfillment. I mean, when I began this show, and for the listeners who have been with us for a while, and those that are just joining us now, the show is called Midlife Awakening at the Edge of Fulfillment, because I think we're all at the edge. And some of us just, go beyond and realize how fulfilled we can be when we are in alignment. I mean, my company is called Head Heart Synergy for a reason, because I think that when we get our heads and our hearts in alignment, then we can flow, and your physicality is part of that flow as well. As I used to say to my kids, Maslow was onto something with his hierarchy of needs, because you can't be self-actualized when you've got to go to the bathroom. Like your physical needs come first.
Yeah, it's true. The physical body does speak the loudest. That is for sure.
Just try and ignore it. Just try and ignore it for too long, and it'll show you. So, yeah. So one of the things that we do on the show is I often pull an oracle card and see what the cards have to say to us today. Would you be interested in doing that?
Absolutely. Sounds great.
So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab my cards and I'll just shuffle, and you just tell me if one jumps out of the pile. I'll let you know, because usually that's a sure sign. And if not, you just say stop, and I'll stop and see what's there.
All right. Now.
Okay. Oh, look at this one.
Oh, a lion. Is that a lion face?
Yeah. Can we see? Waking the lion. How cool is that? That's
that spark, that fire that really heats up that cauldron. Right?
Yeah, I was just going to say it reminds me of exactly what you were saying. So waking the lion. And gives
enough, to like have the steam and really moving, vigorous vitality. I love it. What more does that have to message for us today, Lorraine?
Yeah, it says, regardless of outer conditions right now, which is what I was talking about at the top of the show, you can't wait for fear to lessen before you move forward. Act as if you have deep trust that all will be well. Nothing is promised, but you will never truly see magic if you don't take risk and come to the edge. Oh my goodness, this is perfect for today. And then leap into the unknown. The act of making the leap, no matter the final outcome, is what wakens the roaring lion within. Be proud of who you are and who you're becoming, and no one can take that away from you. Whatever your choice, you will not fail as long as you act with courage and integrity.
Whoa. Goosebumps.
Yeah. So for those, as I said, I've talked to many people lately who feel like they're standing on the edge. Like the world is shifting. The sands beneath our feet are, we thought we were standing on firm ground, but we're not. We're being challenged in what we think and what we believe. We're being pushed beyond belief. So
I think that's more about it gives us an opportunity to gather more information, see as many perspectives as you can and take what resonates with you, because beliefs are just that, they can just belief,
beliefs
isn't necessarily true. And is it true for everybody? I don't know. It's just an interesting, it's all relative, right?
Well, our whole being is functioning on a set of beliefs, and we accept a belief as truth. And most of our beliefs we accepted as truth when we were too young to know any different or have a wide perspective of the world. Like you have traveled the world in so many places and you have a much wider perspective. And as you said, more information to base your beliefs on. But what most are unaware of, or typically unaware of, is they think once they have a belief that that's it. And they're like software. It's like running computer software. We don't always think about Windows running in the background of, like, right now it's functioning in the background as we broadcast around the world through radio and TV and internet, but below that is the software, and the software is like your beliefs. But when the software is buggy and something isn't working right, quite often people they do something that lets them get by, that keeps them functional. It's kind of like if you sprain your ankle, you hobble on the other foot. But that's not really being in flow. That's not really the way you were supposed to function. Instead, look at the reasons why you're hobbling, and you don't want to hobble for years, because then it just becomes a habit and you don't even notice that you're doing it anymore.
Yeah,
And
you're compensating. The body is very smart. It will try to seek balance. There was one point I wanted to make about the card. May I just share quickly? Because the fear aspect, something about around that was
do you want me to read that again?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The fear aspect. You can't wait for fear to lessen or lower before you move forward.
Right. And I think that's the point, is about moving forward and not being stuck. This is the basic of Chinese medicine or traditional healing, is like without flow, disease, right? It's like, so how it might not always be comfortable or joy that we're feeling, right?
Yeah,
exactly. You might have to, take that courageous leap. But it's all the elements, we talk about the 5 elements a lot in Chinese medicine, and how they all nurture each other, and they regulate each other. And so it's very natural to feel all of those feelings, fear, anxieties, impatience, anger, those are all okay. I think that it's not about suppressing them, but just like moving through it, don't have to dwell and spin in it. I don't know if that makes sense, but just how critical that is to really keep moving forward, because when we're stuck, that's when we ruminate and we get obsessed and we overwhelm, and it's like too much accumulating. And so I also think about water element there, like the river.
Tell us more.
Well, just I'm have in mind before we started the show today, I had in mind a somersault, and it just kept coming to mind. It's like life is kind of like you have to commit to that somersault, but once you're in the movement, you're already doing it. And then you've completed the cycle, right?
You can't stop halfway through a somersault.
Right. Yeah. But you could sit there on the edge doing nothing, sitting on the fence, and your butt hurts because you're sitting on the fence for too long, So it's like just about moving through. And yes.
Well, and even that, as you say that, like your butt hurts. Well, your butt is hurting because it has a message for you, and that's get off the fence. Right. I find quite often I have clients who come to me and they've got all kinds of aches and pains, and my understanding, I don't have a doctor's degree. I'm not a medically trained doctor, but my understanding is that the fascia, which is the space and the channel under the skin, holds our emotions, so sometimes our body, well, most of the time, our body is carrying messages for us. And
it's got its own current. I could talk about this forever because I love it, but it has its own communication systems. It's true. It's a very wise fascia connective tissue. Plays an integral part of how our body functions, along with the lymphatic system. And anyway, little things that we kind of don't pay as much attention to.
Well, and it doesn't have a heart. Like that system doesn't have a heart to pump it like the blood does. The blood needs a heart to pump it throughout the body. But these other systems don't. But they require movement, which I always think metaphorically is really interesting, because you want to be moving ahead. And if you're not moving, if you're stagnant, if you feel blocked, if you're staying in one space, ruminating on one thought or feeling one feeling. I have lots of people who say, well, I just feel anxious all the time. Well, you're stuck in anxiety. You haven't had the message yet. And your systems can't flow if you're not moving. Similar to GPS, like another metaphor. And I love metaphor because that's the subconscious mind, my favorite realm. And, a GPS does nothing for you if you're standing still. It only helps when you move forward. So move in any direction. And that's why I love this card, this Waking the Lion. Move in any direction.
Yeah, because just moving starts something, and you'll eventually fall, keep moving somewhere that is more of what you want.
Be courageous. Be in integrity, and move in some direction.
I think part of that too is like when we talk about feelings, it's like stopping and giving yourself permission or feeling safe to feel something, to actually stop and feel the anxiety and just be curious with it instead of letting it kind of run the show, right?
Yeah, make space for it.
It's like stop, be present. Yeah.
Oh, I could talk to you for hours.
I know.
Dr. Nicole. I love our show, but we are coming to the end. And what I'd love to know is there any message that you have for our listeners that you haven't been able to share with us so far? And how can people get in touch with you?
Right. Well, people can tune into my show. It's live on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's called The Language of Healing. And so that's at thelanguageofhealingradio.com. You can find out more ways to connect through there. And through email, you can find me at nikif@hotmail.com. That's nikif@hotmail.com. And message, the main message for me today is that change is really the only constant variable. And as things are today isn't necessarily how they will be tomorrow. It's pretty guaranteed that things are going to change, just as the seasons change and our feelings change, and relationships, and just so many. And that's like the beauty of evolving and growing.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the GPS metaphor. Nice.
Yeah, I love that too, Sherry. And as I said at the top of the show, things are not certain at the moment. Things are unsettled. There's all sorts of things going on in the world right now that are turning what we thought we knew on its head. And change is uncomfortable. I find that, when you clean out a closet, it has to get messier before you get the benefit of whatever the new organization is. And so I personally feel like we're in the mess, the muck at the moment.
Right.
And I just want our listeners to know it's okay. Reach out. Don't travel this path alone. If you're in pain, whether it's emotional, physical, reach out. There are people here that want to help and that can support you. And
through the mess is the best time to learn. That is the healing. The mess and the disease is the healing. So,
I love
tune
that.
Into the bodies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lorraine. It was really a pleasure to be here with you today. I love what you're doing with your show, and I had a lot of fun.
And I loved having you here. Thank you so much, Dr. Nicole. And thank you for all of our listeners for tuning in, whether it's here live or in the replay. And I am your host, Lorraine Lapointe of Head Heart Synergy, reminding you that the edge of fulfillment, there is always a choice. Stay on the edge and get what you've always got, including a pain in the butt. or become courageous and move beyond the edge to get what you really want. And I'll see you next week.